Well, good morning, everybody. This is Mark Evans, and welcome to week 3 of our Business 101 Introduction to Business class. I hope that the first 2 weeks have gone well for you and you're settling in and kind of understanding my expectations for the class and how to navigate around Blackboard and all that sort of thing. I want to commend you that a lot of your discussion posts and assignments are looking very, very good, and I really do appreciate you taking the effort to answer these things thoroughly. Participate and let us know your thoughts. Online classes are one of those things where a lot of people want to do the minimum amount of work that they need to do, and I certainly get that. I've taken my share of online classes, but you also find with online classes that you get out of it what you're willing to put into it. So hopefully by answering the questions fully, participating in the discussions, things like that, that you're actually learning something and enjoying the class more than if you were just to check off the box that this is done and on to the next thing. So I certainly appreciate your discussions. I certainly appreciate you doing a good job with it. This week we're going to be talking a little bit about a different subject. We're going to talk about the structure of various types of businesses. First and foremost, there are businesses that are for profit, and there are businesses that are non-profit, or maybe we should say there are organizations that are for profit and organizations that are non-profit. Likewise, there are colleges and universities that are for profit and non-profit, hospitals that are for profit, non-profit, etc. Each of those are set up with the IRS in a particular way. So that it all relates to taxes and how that company or organization will be dealt with in terms of taxes and that sort of thing. But once you get into the for-profit side and look at starting a business or owning a business, there are a lot of different setups, if you will, for companies. And this is important if you ever want to start a company, or if you ever want to have a business, or you have this idea you want to start. These things are important to know. Other than that, they're nice to know because sometimes you'll work for one of these entities and they will have different rules or different setups and stuff based on this structure. One of the first ones that we would talk about is a sole proprietorship. In a sole proprietorship, you own the company. Nobody else does. There are no stockholders. There are nobody that has interest in the company other than you. So let's imagine, if you will, in a very simplistic example, a little girl goes out to the roadside, sets up a lemonade stand, and starts selling lemonade every week, and wants to call it an official business. That would be an example of a sole proprietorship. We see family farms, for an example. Maybe you start a business sewing, or you do a business where you repair people's computers, things like that, just where you are getting started. It's primarily just you, and so forth, and that's considered a sole proprietorship. With a sole proprietorship, the taxes are paid by you. All of your assets and everything are usually tied into that sole proprietorship. So for an example, let's say you were repairing computers as a business, and you ruined somebody's computer, lost a lot of their data, and then they sued you. All of your assets are defensible in that case. In other words, if you were to lose the lawsuit, not only could you lose your business, but you could also lose personal possessions as well. They're very, very easy to set up, a lot of them out there. There's not a lot to worry about. It really depends on the amount of money that you're making. It depends on the risk factors that you may be encountering, etc., whether you want to look at a sole proprietorship or not. So that's the first type, and probably one of the most common ones out there. The second one is a partnership. We see that a lot with families, similar to a sole proprietorship, but now I'm bringing a partner on board, and the two of us or the three of us or however many run the business. We are responsible for its bills. We each get part of the revenue, if you will, depending on how you set it up and so forth. So a partnership. The next thing that organizations are set up around are called corporations. Corporations are incorporated. That's why they're called corporations. In other words, they are registered with the state in which they operate. They distribute stock, and they could keep that all to themselves, or they could go public, as we like to say, sell pieces of the company or interests of the company in order to gain money and to build revenue, and then run that company. The nice thing about a corporation is that you don't really own all of the money per se coming into it, but you take a salary from it, and you take benefit from it and that sort of thing. And that sets up special tax situations for you. Then another one that is very popular, especially with just small businesses, maybe me or you setting something up, is called a limited liability corporation. I set one of those up many years ago. It was really easy to do. It didn't cost me that much money. And again, you register with the state as a formal corporation. You name your president, secretary, treasury, who might be family members or friends or whatever, and the state allots you X amount of shares of stock, if you will, in the company based on your value. And what you can do then, again, you can either sell some of the stock to raise revenue or just keep it all within the family, so to speak. But a limited liability corporation is just what it sounds like, limited liability. And what that is let's say again, you're starting up this computer company and you're repairing computers, and maybe you break a computer, can't fix it, lose somebody's data, and they sue you. In this case, the limited liability comes into play that the only thing that that person or that entity could sue would be the company itself. None of your personal assets could be taken or attacked, if you will. So in a sole proprietorship, you may mortgage your house, for an example, to raise money. Well, if you got sued, your house could potentially be gone. In a limited liability corporation, no one could go after your house. No one could go after your car, your bank accounts, things like that. That's why it's called limited liability. The next organization we'll be talking about this week is the nonprofits. They're set up also with special tax implications and stuff, and we'll take a look at that. Excuse me. So this is the subject matter we're going to talk about this week. It's not as much fun, I don't think, as ethics or careers and stuff, but in Introduction to Business, we're looking at all different types of subjects related to business, and so this will be one of them. And so hopefully you'll learn a little bit, and maybe if you have dreams of starting a company, this information will be good for you. A couple of housekeeping things that I want to remind you about. Keep in mind this is week 3. Our first test is this week. It is online as well, and you can take the test twice using notes or your textbook. I'll take the highest of the 2 grades for that, okay? Don't forget, if you haven't completed the first Collaborate session, that you do need to go out and do that. You may also see some Collaborate sessions saved as office hours. Those are just where I log on each week for you to talk to me, not necessarily anything there for you to have to do. Keep in mind this week my office hours again will be on Thursday night. I will open up Collaborate if you want to join in and chat or ask questions or so forth. Grades are looking pretty good. I'm real happy with the discussions. I'm real happy with the assignments and stuff. I do want to remind you to look at the syllabus and look at the guidelines for discussion posts, guidelines for assignments, etc. And follow those so that you can get the best grade possible. Don't forget the timelines on the discussions, that they have to, the first one's due Wednesday nights and the second one Saturdays, and certainly look at the late policies so that there are no surprises to you. Overall, I think we're doing good. Keep up the good work. I'll see you in class.